Hello. Hello. It's Kamilah Rose with the Bliss Institute, and today we're talking about astrology. So, I did get a comment on one of my last videos saying that perhaps I could actually watch the last two episodes of I guess like being alive, getting alive, something like that. And then it was actually interesting. So I might do that this afternoon and then do a review and talk about it and talk about what the conclusion is. It may actually be worthwhile. But today, oh, the cats are already playing games. Today we are talking about Pluto. We are talking about Pluto and all the interesting, wonderful things that comes with his energy or her energy, its energy. So Pluto is not a planet right now. It's been downgraded from a planet, but it's still in astrology. We still reference it. And right now we have Pluto in Capricorn. Woohoo. Y'all know how I feel about Capricorn. You know I love them from afar. But the Capricorn energy doesn't really I don't personally jive well with Capricorn energy. I want the Capricorns to do that work. I don't want to have to do it because it is work. And so with Pluto and Capricorn, we've been really looking at systems of power, how we function in society, all of that fun stuff. But we're moving into, which I'm so happy about, we're moving into Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this won't be till I think it's 2023. So, I mean, we got a minute to go. So, on January 26, 2008, that was the first time that Pluto moved into Capricorn. And then it does this kind of dance back and forth with the retrogrades and such, going back into the other signs. And then it finally settled in there probably in around 2009. It takes about a year to actually settle in the next sign. But let's see, when I was born in 87, and that was around the time of Pluto and Scorpio. And I just find it so interesting to kind of look at some of those larger scale things that go on that relate to these topics. And of course, if you're looking at entertainment, that will also be impacted by anything that has to do with Mercury and Neptune and all of that fun stuff, and Venus, beauty, all of that, arts. But that 1983, so the 80s, the grunge and all of that, and so Scorpio, moving into the 90s grunge, and then all of that gangster rap and just kind of digging down into the things that needed to really be fixed in society. And then 1995, we have Pluto move into Sagittarius, and this was pop started to really kind of come up, and we moved kind of out of that more darker topics. And then in 2008, and I'm trying to even remember of what was really going on in 2008. That's Capricorn time. It seems like at that time, it was music that was just a little all over the place, maybe that reorganization, which does sound very Capricorn, the kind of getting into the, what have we been working on? What would we like to work on? Where is this going? And getting into a stage where people are exploring and figuring out what's new. And we have had so many technological advances over the past 30, 20, 10 years that it was just revolutionary in how we create and how we make music and how our world kind of functions. That it was okay, we're going to figuring out how all of that works out and how to get all of that in alignment. Because even with that, we were still at that Sagittarian age, right? When especially when MySpace started, but when we really got into Facebook was still at the edge at the end of that Sagittarian space. So it was all about having fun and exploring and starting that connection and learning through traveling and connecting with people from different backgrounds and different experiences. And then we really see all of that coming together and kind of butting up against the system with this Pluto and Capricorn. And Pluto and Capricorn is playing out in so many different ways, especially as it has these aspects going on with Cancer and their butting heads and the tension between the two of them. And the tension between Capricorn and these fire signs, because anytime Leo or Sagittarius is coming up, like there is some hard aspects between them, even if they're not as intense as a square. Like there's still some aspects between them that some tension is there, and Capricorn is really like pulling on everyone. I think Capricorn is trying to get everyone to like get in line, and not so much like in a strict formal way, but more so in a, we cannot just be all willy-nilly all over the place. All we want to do is talk to each other. All we want to do is have fun and explore and learn. It's like that is not how a society as a whole can function. We really need to explore our morals and our values and our rules that we follow and find some structure that will work for a long-term plan. And I find all this to be interesting because in the U.S., 2020, we have elections. I am pretty sure that Trump's going to win again. I don't know. I don't think that's really anything to have a discussion about, honestly. But I'm here for people who would like to have that discussion. But I kind of see that, like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of strong Democratic or independent or other opponents. It doesn't seem like people really are organized enough to really, and maybe that is what Capricorn is talking about with this Pluto in Capricorn, is like, this is a sign of our dysfunction, our inability to be able to really come together and to improve things about things that we believe in. For some folks, for others, they're doing quite well at being able to fall in line and to follow the structure and to get on the path, So, but I'm definitely interested in 2023, because in 2024 we will have another election, and that will be the end of Trump's 8 years, so he won't be able to run again, and that will be when things are really like, woo. Over the next 2 years, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen overall, because we do have, to 2022, we do have Pluto moving into Aquarius. And so that is all about innovation. It's all about technological advances. It's going to be really something that is going to pull us to, okay, now that we've really buckled down and said, these are the things we'd like to change. This is the way we'd like to function. This is a society that we would like to have. Aquarius takes it from that very, like, I don't want to say boring, but boring keeps coming. Very strategic, very analytical, very precise nature of Capricorn to be like, we have to get this done, that pusher, that starting engine, and humanizes it. And it says, okay, we're doing the why behind why we're doing this. We're doing this because humanity needs this. And so I went in and I was like, okay, well, the last time that we had Pluto in Aquarius, I was like, what was going on? And it was the first time it went into Aquarius was April 3rd, 1717. And then it went back into Capricorn in May 1717 and went back into Aquarius in January 26, 1778. So like I said, like or 1777. Like I said, they go back, that can be, yes, 77. Like I said, they go back and forth quite a bit, but it finally settled into Aquarius in December 1st, 1778. So what was going on during that time? We did have the invention of flight. We had, the starting of invention of flight. We had music that was being composed. We saw a lot of like really great, wonderful things starting to happen during this time. We also were experiencing the American Revolution. The French Revolution started. Like there was a lot of turmoil. And when I was looking at the astrological chart for when Pluto starts to move into, I think I was looking at 2020, and I was looking at when Pluto moves into Aquarius. And I was like, this looks like revolution energy, because there's been a lot of that like going on, especially with Uranus and Taurus. in February 16th of, I believe it's 1775, but it might be another date. It had to be another date. But on February 16th, in that time of Pluto in Aquarius, we did see the British no longer using the gold as their standard to back the pound, and they really started passing out pounds. So we did see like a similarity in some of these changes going on economically and socially, which parallels with some of the changes that have been predicted towards the economic system from Uranus being in Taurus. I really see it though as there's been a lot of talk about money and currency and moving to crypto and all these other things. And I do think that we will probably see a shift in that. Money though is already digitized to a point where cash, physical, material pieces of money are just not as readily used, although we do, quite a few of us still use. And with my budgeting, you've seen I just moved to a cash system, but there's so much that already happens digitally with banking, with paying our bills, with all these other things that would rival, I believe, cryptocurrency, that I'm interested to see how that ends up playing out overall, because it feels like it would not be that difficult of a shift for banks and for those who are already kind of running the financial economic system to shift from their current one to more of a crypto-like design. So, and how they function and relate to money. But anyway, those are just my thoughts about it, especially since Taurus is so much into our talents and our personal passion and skills and how that plays out, that it seems that with Uranus coming into that sign, that it would point towards how do you manage your possessions? How do you leverage your talents and passion in order to be successful? And revolutionizing the way that we function in our society, and how we recognize the value of the individual and their talents and their passions and things like that. So like, what value does that hold as a whole? Anyways, all of that to go back to Pluto in Aquarius coming up in 2023. They will flip back and forth again as such with Capricorn for a while until it settles in Aquarius November 20th, 2024. So that will be literally, I think that might actually be like the voting day for the 2024 elections. Like I said, this is very interesting to me. I was like, okay. So the parallels between that, I do think that we are just like at this point where there are new things that are coming up. There are ways that we would like to change. There's new ways we would like to function, and that there is a pull from tradition to want to kind of maintain some of these same systems and functions. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. My inclination is always to move towards kindness, equality, and making safe spaces for folks. That doesn't mean that like we have to take anything from anybody, but it does point towards making sure that there is access to resources available, and that there are not substantial barriers that would impact or would make it difficult to the point of not being able to overcome for folks to access those resources. And I think that Uranus and Taurus will also take a look at that, because Taurus is so connected to our physical resources, our material resources, that there will be some revolution in all of that, and some radical changes, and a radical change in how we look at those topics. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to go on with all of that, how that will play in. I do think that Capricorn and Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn, when I tell you I cannot wait for these planets to move out of Capricorn, it is good because it has helped me to prioritize creating schedules and routines and a budget for myself. Like, I'm finally there, and I've got about 4 years left to really like dig into that and stabilize it in order to be ready when this more like tangibly changeable energy starts to roll about. But gosh, as someone who has a lot of air and water and fire, it has just been like, oh my god, I'm so bored with this. Like, I just want to go out and have fun. Luckily, we still have the energy and the folks who are born during Pluto and Sagittarius bringing us out of these doldrums, especially with the very like sad person goth aesthetic of those who were born in and for the things that were created and developed in Pluto and Scorpio. So we like really needed that, and we really needed like the light from the folks who were born before that, and around the 70s, to bring like the beauty and the culture and all of that. And then our parents who are like very strict, who were born during that. Probably most of the parents who had Pluto and Scorpio children were born during Pluto and Virgo, because that came for the first time in there around 1956. We really needed that. So these cycles are continuing. They're going to continue. It's good to kind of watch what's happened, watch what's happening, watch what could come forth from that. And then I am thrilled for Pluto and Pisces. Oh, I live. It's gonna be amazing, but probably a lot of people on drugs. Like, there's some folks on drugs now, and I think that that's in response to just like the changes and the turmoil and like just the adjusting to new energy and new systems. But Pisces is about that escapism. So like, if things do go kind of sideways during Pluto in Aquarius, it will definitely have an impact on what may come forth in Pluto in Pisces. And that was one of the things I was reading Stephen Forrester's book about Pluto. He does have a book about Neptune too, though, which I still believe I was reading about a Neptunian crisis, and I still believe we are going through a Neptunian crisis, which I think will be magnified when Pluto moves into Pisces. But when I was reading up on Pluto in his work, he was talking about one of the shadows, one of the things that kind of gets lost in the fray of the innovation and creation and all that great stuff for Pluto and Aquarius is the long-term impact of these changes that are made. And I do think that that will be one of the things that comes out of that. It will be great creativity. It will be the ability to dream and to explore and to be reborn, to experience the beauty and the spirit and the connection between ourself and the universe and God. I think that that will definitely be probably the overall feeling of Pluto and Pisces, but I also think that for such a large change for folks who are maybe more earthy, so those Capricornian folks who are thriving right now may not do as well once we hit that really spiritual, ethereal waters of Pisces, because it's so deep in the subconscious and it's so like untethered and free and moving. That's just complete opposite of the energy of Capricorn and that earthy energy, and not the opposite that's creating so much tension as with Cancer, but in that it's difficult for them to find their footing because there's no ground. Although at this point, when you're at that Pisces moment, you are in the depths, like you're in the Mariana Trench. You are so far in there that there is a floor, but it's the deepness that you have to go to get there. It's just too much. There's too much water. There's too much pressure coming from that. It's too dark to actually reach that point. And I think that that will be difficult for earthy folks. And I think that that will be a push towards some of that escapism, or also that pulling really tightly and holding really tightly to earthly thoughts and ideas and paradigms. So anyway, so those are my thoughts about Pluto. I want to dig more into that. I want to look at a bit more of those connections and see about like some of the work to be done there. As always, when there are things that are difficult, there will be things that are easier, and there is medicine in the opposite sign. So hard times with Capricorn lean towards that Cancer energy, and we will be with Capricorn until 2023. So like I said, it's get on board. And a way to do that is through utilizing some of that Cancer energy, but there's so much tension going on between Capricorn and Cancer. They're really kind of jumping over to that Pisces. That's a little bit more like, okay, well, let's come in and like in this nice environment and let's sit down and let's just dream about what we could do. And then maybe you can make a plan to make it happen. Whereas Cancer is just like, remember in 1994 when you did this and this and this, and like now we don't have a stable home and I need you to fix it. Like it's just much more direct, much more of that. The mother understands that this has to get done in order for us to survive, and they are holding Capricorn accountable. And that is creating some tension because Capricorns don't like feeling pressured. They like feeling that they are in control and able to make the changes they want to make according to their own timeline. And they like to set the rules and standards for others. And Cancer, as that mothering energy, is like, I run this house and you need to get in line and fix it. Like it's like I've seen that conversation happen in so many movies between like the mother and the father, or the girlfriend and the boyfriend, or the boyfriend and boyfriend, whoever, between that masculine and feminine energy, where like the feminine is like, there is a problem and you need to fix it. And like it's very interesting because it is going back to some of those more traditional gendered roles, but it's also something that works when they come together, and when we take the role, the sex ID out of it, and we look at it as like a gendered role. Like masculine energy is generally more inclined to be more of a fixer, especially since it's supposed to be more of a like not necessarily getting into all the nitty gritty details with Capricorn, which it will, but Capricorn is a feminine energy. So we're having like, that's part of the tension. I did not mean to go all into this stuff about Capricorn, but it fits with the Pluto being in Capricorn. We're having this tension because you have like the mother and then you have the grandmother. And so you have a mother who has their own family, who is birthing these things, who is in here in this creation stage. And then you have the grandmother who has birthed all of these things. They are the crone, they have the wisdom, they know how things work, and they're really wanting to be able to see their family prosper, and they recognize mistakes that are coming up, and they want to try to go around them or to troubleshoot for them before they happen. And the Cancer energy is just like, it's too much. You cause these problems anyway. I need you to take a step back, or I need you to fix them, like fall in line and fix them. So it's like a very interesting like play between the two of them, and we really need some of that Libra energy to like help to help out. Like moving into fall will be really good, kind of, a little. We really need to get we need to get Saturn and Pluto out of Capricorn and into, well, not even Aquarius. Aquarius will be helpful. It will lighten things up. It will look at the bigger picture. It will take a humanitarian stance as opposed to a tribal stance. And that will help us to see beyond just the like, how does this impact me, into the how does this impact everyone. So it will be helpful. And then with Libra and that air sign kind of supporting that, like it will be helpful. It will move things along. And especially since Libras and Leos gel well, once like that shifts and we start getting that Leo and Aquarius energy going back and forth, it should be a little bit more helpful. At least it'll be more things that are less looking at like issues connected to the masculine and the feminine in that aspect, and issues related to how do we help each other and how do I move beyond being so self-centered, that's that Leo, to see my purpose in being able to shine the spotlight on areas that need to be fixed. And we'll get some of that masculine energy with Leo and Aquarius to actually get some things fixed, as opposed to just kind of going back and forth and butting heads. So it'll be some good stuff coming up. It'll be some good things moving. So speaking on routines, getting things together, I know I am not the only person who struggles with resting. Resting is the hardest thing in the world to me, because I'm just like, I could power through this and then I'll get it done and then I can rest. Well, that doesn't work well, because then I'm so tired, then I'm not really getting anything done. I'm not eating well. I'm not moving like I would like to. Like, I'm still getting up early, still doing my workouts, but like, I'm so tired then that I don't really want to do much else. So finally today I have my follow-up doctor's appointment because I had the ear issue that I've spoken about before. And it looks better. She said the drainage was down, but she said they're still like in something where they're turning out the way they're supposed to be. And so she was like, stay on your allergy medicines. I'm on the non-brand name Flonase still. And I was like, I really have to focus on the resting, because it's being so tired is wearing me out. Trying to do so much is wearing me out. But like, I go with these cycles, and I'm really trying to focus on listening to my body as I go through these cycles. So I took a rest day, and I went and I was at the Korean baths, and I was like just floating in the water, trying to just like chill out so my body could rest and so that I can get some of that movement that I need to. And I ended up like falling asleep, passing out on those heated floors that they have. It was so comfortable. Like, I was just so comfortable. I felt so supported and grounded and nurtured and like cared for, and all it was is just like a warm floor. But I'm sitting here, and as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about the energy of Capricorn, and I'm thinking about like the warm hearth to keep us safe and supported during the cold winter months. And like, that is what Capricorn's for. And yet somehow Capricorn always ends up in this like weird survival mode. And I think it's because of that. Like, there's the flip side. There's like, if you've well prepared, Virgo season, if you've balanced your stuff out, Libra season, if you've gone down and you're like doing the shadow work, Scorpio season, letting things die and letting things go, and then like realizing the importance of the knowledge and the learning and the travel and the human connection with Sagittarius, then when Capricorn season comes around, you should have a hearth that can support you, with a community, with enough food, with something joyful and beautiful and artistic to keep you occupied, and like with plenty of shadow work to be done to fill up that time. So like, you should be in that rest mode, in this safe space provided for, nurturing in the womb of the earth in Capricorn. And yet Capricorn is always in like 911 emergency survival mode, and it's always pushing everyone there. And I think it's because we're not doing some of the work that needed to be done in these other areas. And so it's like focusing on and finding that light. We're in Leo season. There's still plenty of time, because when Virgo season comes, I'm trying to tell y'all, when Virgo season comes, it is going to clamp down, and it is like, it is time to review your books. You know, we do tax season in, you know, it starts in January. Folks start getting their W-2s back. They start collecting their receipts and all this stuff. And then like from January through April, you know, tax season. But Virgo is like, no, we're heading into review time. You've had your goals, you've had your time, we're almost back at the balancing time in Libra season, and it's time to review those books. And it is like, whew, if you were out partying and spending and buying all the makeup and the clothes and the going on the trips and doing the parties during Leo season, and then like those accounts are not adding up, Virgo is like, Well, seems like you're going to be, when those time for those scales to balance, you're going to need to be putting a lot more hours in order to balance this out. And then like we jump into Scorpio season to figure out like why we are compelled and why we are going through these cycles and what's really going on in our subconscious to keep us in these cycles where we are coming up short when it comes time to be accountable for what's going on, and when it comes time to balancing out our scales and finding harmony and justice, like why that's not working out. So I really would like to emphasize the light work and the shadow work for Leo season, and the importance of finding out where you shine and finding out where those claws are so sharp that you are holding yourself back and that you are not working as someone in a group, in a community, in a pride, but you are the dangerous lone wolf that needs to get back into seeing the bigger picture and move out of survival mode and into community and abundance and thriving. So there we go. I think that's what we're going to talk about today. So I am going to finish those last 2 episodes of that Netflix series, and then I may be back and talk about them. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you take some time to rest, and I will see you all later.